Welcome to OneTake Live, the weekly show where we talk about film, television, and everything else. I usually sit down with somebody. At the moment, it's been my brother Daniel I talk to every week. And probably will continue to be my brother. He's the co-host. Daniel, say hello.
Hey, what's up?
We usually do this Friday morning, but we're doing it in the evening now because I'm flying tomorrow to Nashville, Tennessee. A friend of mine moved out to a big farm out there, named a chicken after me, who recently almost got eaten by his dog, but I'm going out there to check and make sure he's actually okay. We recently changed formats. We do a split screen now, so you and I can actually look at each other.
And it's weird.
It's really weird. Like I said, on the live stream that we didn't end up releasing, I was saying how, we do this every week, and in my head, I was thinking we're talking to an audience. We're doing a live stream. But now that we're looking at each other, it dawned on me that really all I'm doing is once a week I'm sitting down to talk to Daniel.
Yeah, and we just have to stare at each other's eyes as we do it.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about movies and TV shows. Specifically, first off, we got some comments on our last video, our last live stream, where I made a comment that Christopher Nolan has never made a sequel. And you sat there and you let me say that.
I don't remember that.
I kind of just rattled it off. And I have a very credible way of saying things. So people tend not to question what I'm saying too much. Dark Knight Rises. To be fair, what I had in mind when I said that is he hasn't done sequels to any of his original movies. Because you had mentioned a sequel to Inception. He never did Interstellar 2 or anything like that.
He's never made a movie where there was a number in the title.
Yes, I think that's true. I'm sure that commenter, though, will let us know if we got that wrong, too. You want to jump into, well, why don't I start with what I'm working on at the moment? The MCU timeline. We talked about that extensively last week, so I'm going to keep this brief. But I wanted to give a quick update. And oh no, Tony's here. Famous Tony. This was this is really why it's so embarrassing that I forgot about The Dark Knight Rises. Gil, how could you not know he did a sequel? I was in his best sequel. He played unnamed football spectator in the Bane scene where he's at the football stadium. And actually, I was on Hack the Movies, his live stream a couple weeks ago. And one thing I found funny is that people over on Hack the Movies are a little bit more blue than we are. They'll use F words.
That's blue.
T words, B words. They're a little dirtier than we are. And Tony kept making comments like, come on, Gil's not going to come back if we keep talking like this. And I've noticed that is a thing that's followed me my entire life. Like even when I was working in an office, we'd be in a meeting, for example, full of people, a room full of people. And if somebody cursed, they'd be like, oh, sorry, Gil. But having said all that, yeah, I will not be appearing on that live stream again. It's just disgusting. Can't be associated with that filth. MCU timeline. So I've made great progress on it, Daniel. And so this is going to be the summer 2023 edition, meaning that any movies or shows that have come out since December when I released it, all of that stuff gets added. Ant-Man Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Secret Invasion. All of those have been incorporated. I'm at the last step now of going back and making corrections. So for example, if I change the order of the timeline, I have to fix the little transitions between movies. So it'll be like, meanwhile, on Earth, or 2 years later. Now it has to be 3 years later, things like that. And pronunciations. So if you enjoyed Romanoff, enjoy it while you can, because next week you're getting Romanoff.
I remember I was the one who pointed out that one. I felt really bad.
You pointed that out?
Yeah, I pointed it out on, it might not have been your full recap, but it was on some other smaller recap.
And then by the time we got to the full-on MCU recap, you forgot.
No, I think you ignored me when I told you about it.
I don't remember. There's no way I would have ignored that because I went back and I mispronounced Wanda's brother's name, which I can't even remember now.
Was it Peter, but like the Russian version of Peter or something?
Yeah, whatever it is, I said it incorrectly, and I went back and surgically replaced every single one to pronounce it correctly. So if I had messed up Romanoff, which I did, but if I knew I messed it up, I would have gone back and fixed it.
I'll admit that I don't really remember what happened with the Romanov thing, but I remember you pronouncing it wrong, and maybe I wasn't even the first one to notice it. I don't remember.
Tony hasn't watched Disney Plus MCU shows since Moon Knight, so this will help when he sees the Marvels, which if I know Tony, and I like to think I do, I'm sure that is at the top of his list of anticipated movies this year. Let's talk about... You're still feeling weird looking at each other, and now we have the addition of the headphones. You were so excited about the headphones.
No, I like the headphones.
You're like,
no, I was just I was immersed in the conversation until you pointed out the looking at each other thing again. I was laughing at just your joke about how bad the Marvels is going to be.
I don't recall saying that. You remind me of our dog Dexter. So there was one time that my mom was making spaghetti. And she accidentally dropped one. She was trying to feed him some, and she accidentally dropped it, and it landed on his back, and she couldn't get it off him, and it freaked him out. So the rest of the night, he was hiding under a table with this spaghetti strand down his back because he was like, I don't know what this is, and she couldn't get it off him. That's you. I put the headphones on. You're just like, hey, the Marvels. It's gonna be great.
Yo, I thought this was supposed to be a G-rated, family-friendly show. Now you're talking about animal cruelty.
Speaking of
spaghetti
which,
on his back.
Would you rather talk about Ninja Turtles or Twisted Metal?
Let's start with Twisted Metal.
Okay, cool, good, because I have that first on my notes.
Good.
So tell me what you thought of Twisted Metal. We've both watched only the first 2 episodes, and I'm dying to know what you thought of it.
What do you think I thought about it?
I think you hated it.
You think I hated it?
Yeah.
Say more.
I think that you probably thought it was really just eye roll, cheesy, not funny, and just nothing appealing about it.
No, I enjoyed it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to enjoy it. Like, I did not want to like it. I don't think I watched it. Like, I didn't start watching it in an unbiased way. Like, I was excited to hate it, and I was entertaining.
See, I thought the other thing it had going against it for you is that it actually comes from the same showrunner as Cobra Kai.
Oh, and I hate Cobra Kai.
I see a lot of similarities between them. But Cobra Kai, you did fall under its spell for a bit. You watched a few episodes?
No, the first season I sort of begrudgingly got through, and then I couldn't watch more than that. I think there is something... I don't think I gave it a fair chance. Like, there's something with the style of the show that just clashed with what I expected. Yeah. And so Twisted Metal is similar, but I expected that style. So it kind of meshed a little better for me.
So you said, I forget, did you say you liked it or you loved it?
Twisted Metal?
Yeah.
No, I didn't love it. But I liked it. I liked it. I'm intrigued. I'll watch more.
I didn't like it that much. It wasn't great. You know what? I hated it. That's the journey Adam always goes through. Any movie we like, I talked to him a week later. He's like, there's some stuff wrong with that movie. And then a week later, he's like, John Wick 4 sucked. But then he comes back around. Recently, he's like, you know what? I rewatched John Wick. John Wick 4 was great. I don't know what I was talking about. But so you like Twisted Metal. What did you like about it?
It was pretty funny. It was funny, and it was like an intriguing world where I could see him getting up to a lot of interesting shenanigans. I like the characters in it so far. Like, I like the main character. I like the girl that he's like traveling with now.
Quiet.
Yeah, Quiet. Yeah, her name is Quiet. I like the... I was worried there would be a little too much like gratuitous violence played for laughs. There wasn't actually as much of it after like the first scene, basically. So I mean, I like that there's not that much of that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's a funny world. And once I was willing to go with some of this over the top humor stuff, it was just fun and kind of just very different from anything else.
So I liked it also, though I went through a bit of a journey before I got to liking it, because the first episode I was not a very big fan of. I didn't think it was funny. I thought a lot of the jokes were super cheesy. For example, the one that sticks out is when it opens up on that car chase in the mall. And he's like, oh, they have a Foot Locker. And I don't know, I feel like I've seen that humor of you're in an action scene, but you don't really care what's going on type of humor so many times before. It didn't land for me. But the second episode, I thought Sweet Tooth, the clown character, to me, that's the kind of humor I like. I think about the vibe this show goes for is this over-the-top absurdity. And I was thinking about, I feel like a hypocrite because sometimes I love the over-the-top absurdity, and then a lot of times I hate it. Like The Meg, for example. That was like a cultural phenomenon. Do you know about this movie?
No.
It's Jason Statham basically versus, what does Meg stand for? It's short for this shark that is from the prehistoric, like Jurassic days, and it's extinct. But there's rumors that there's still one out there. So I forget the actual word, but Meg is short for it. It's like Megadon or something.
Megalodon.
Is that something like that?
Something like
but
that.
It turns out there's still one out there, and it's this over-the-top shark movie. But to me, there's two different types of over-the-top. There's the lots of stuff over the top, like Meg, where it's like giant dinosaur, giant fish, giant shark. And then there's weird Megalodon. Thank you, Alun.
Hey, I got it right.
Good job,
Thank
Daniel.
you, Alun, for the confirmation.
Good job, Daniel. So then there's weird over the top. Like you're in a post-apocalypse with guns grafted onto cars, and there's an evil clown whose best friend is a paper bag holding you hostage while he does a one-act play based on all the amenities available at a hotel. To me, that's weird over the top, and it's less about the jokes. Like the clown is telling jokes that are terrible. The joke is that he's telling the jokes, but you're not actually laughing at his jokes. Versus in the first episode, I felt like the jokes were of the same caliber, but you were supposed to be laughing at them, and I wasn't. I also thought in the second episode, there were some moments of genuine suspense, like the two guys that run into the cop character.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that character. And they're forced to kill those innocent bystanders.
That scene was awesome.
Great scene. And it wasn't undercut by too much humor. There was actually some suspense there. I also felt some genuine suspense, sort of Negan-esque suspense from Walking Dead, when the two characters are watching the clowns play. And you know that he says nobody survives every act of his play. And so you're waiting to find out, what's he going to do? Is he just going to kill them, or is there going to be some kind of a game that they basically can't win? And I felt some suspense there. Though I felt it sort of resolved itself in a pretty cheesy, jokey way. Oh, just give me an honest review of my play. Okay, you can go. So that's where I am with the show right now. There's things I like about it. I almost wish it would go further with building that tension, a little bit less of the cheesy humor. But I do like the humor to an extent. Just to me, it's that subjective line of how much is too much.
And I think that I actually forgot about that, but it's such a good example. Those two like former cop characters who are now with that, sort of, I don't know how to describe the cop guy.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're with that group now. Like one of the one who goes ahead and does kill those like civilians or whoever. Right. Like the other character is usually in a very comedic roles, right? And he plays a comedic role in this. He plays this stupid kind of goofy guy. And yet we actually see him showing like a moral compass and a serious like conflict and fear. And his friend is like quickly going over to the dark side, sort of. And that totally feels tense and interesting. And it's not undercut by humor. And so I hope in the rest of the season that actually develops somewhere, because right now I feel invested in those characters. And so if they can keep that up, that's actually going to be really cool.
Yeah, and so I agree with that. And from some of the reviews I've heard, people have said the show has a surprising amount of heart. So that tells me they are going to dig into some of that stuff as the season goes on. And although a lot of the jokes specifically don't land for me, the overall kind of energy and vibe of the show I do like. So I want to watch more. Like you said, I'm invested in the characters, and it is just a pleasant show. It's this bizarre, it's just a weird vibe, a weird energy. It's not like much else on TV right now.
I have a non-G-rated question though about one of the scenes.
Okay.
When he's first in the car with the girl Quiet, and he makes a comment, he's like, or we could work out a deal or something, and the camera points to his lap.
Well, she had a knife to his artery. So
I don't think there was a knife in that shot.
I don't know. I have
Was
to go
there?
back. I don't know.
Okay,
I might be mixing it up with another moment where he puts
Yeah.
a gun to her head, and then the camera pans down, and you see she has a knife to his thigh. So they both have each other in the crosshairs.
Oh, okay. Maybe there was a knife in that shot. I didn't notice
Get your
it.
mind out of
so
the
I
gutter.
really thought, and I was like, whoa, that's
Go to Hack the Movies. You don't belong here.
I was like, this is like really aggressive. Like literally just pointing the camera at his lap and then him saying that. Okay, maybe I was distracted by what I thought the joke was.
Yeah. Anything
Yeah.
else in this show, Daniel?
No, I'm intrigued. Are all the episodes out already?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So all the reviews are already out. Everyone's like, we already saw IGN's review. Hack the Movies did a review. So they're like, we don't need to hear this. Move on. Move on to something that nobody's talked about yet. Ninja Turtles. Should we do that?
Let's talk about Ninja Turtles.
All right, we saw the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles last week. Emphasis on teenage because these Ninja Turtles are actually young, unlike a lot of the previous iterations. Like the live action movies, it's clearly older people that are like, yo, dude, trying to act like teenagers. These felt like genuinely, very young people. Daniel, what did you think of Mutant Mayhem?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I got a little bored at times.
I don't remember. See, this is like Oppenheimer, where we both walked out saying one thing, and then as soon as we get on mic, we loved it. Christopher Nolan is brilliant. The cinematography is incredible. You say I thought you were bored throughout a lot of the movie.
I was bored through a decent amount of it. I like that they made this movie. I like what they made. But yeah, I just found a lot of it boring. Like the animation was cool, the storyline was good. I like the characters, but yeah, I was just bored. I think it's just a kid, like it's a kid's movie, right?
Oh, so I agree with that to an extent. There are things in the movie that I think are just symptomatic of the fact that it's a kid's movie, and you kind of can't ask too much of it. But to me, that was pretty minor. I would say overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I quite liked it. I probably enjoyed it most out of all of us that went to go see this, I think. And the reasons I loved it, well, first off, we'll come back to that. So the reasons I loved it, one, I do think it had a lot of heart. Like I felt, it's always a thing with Ninja Turtles that they're outsiders and they want to fit in. But I've never felt it quite as much as I did with this movie. And I think that's helped in part by the fact that these characters aren't cool. Oftentimes the Ninja Turtles are like, we're outsiders. But at the same time, they're awesome and they're badass and they're ninjas. We also see the spectrum of just bizarre, sometimes disgusting mutations like cockroaches. So you do genuinely feel like they're part of a world that would be treated like outsiders. And so I really felt that. And when they were watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off, for example, and they're like, is that what high school is like? Which I used to think the same thing. I was in high school and I'm like, is that the experience that everyone else is having? Because mine is not fun. It was tough for me. Also, genuine underdog tension. For example, when they're in the car with Superfly, there were moments where I'm actually like, how are they going to get out of this? Unlike a lot of children's or superhero movies where there's an action sequence, but you're never genuinely worried for the main characters. And obviously, I know none of the Ninja Turtles are going to die in this movie, but I was sitting there wondering, like, this is heavy, Doc. How are they going to get out of this?
But I think that actually brings up one of the reasons I felt a little bored at times, which was a Lund's complaint, which was there, and maybe there was. He said there was never like a moment in the movie where all the turtles are like, "Oh my God, we're in over our heads."
Which I think some of that is because this movie is very jokey.
Yeah, it's sort of like our complaints with the first Spider-Verse, where there were times to lean more into the tension, but they didn't. And I don't know, like even when they were getting milked or whatever, right? Like it's really funny, right? That Splinter's warned them their whole lives they're gonna get milked, and then they do actually get milked. But that also sort of undercuts the drama of they are imprisoned and gonna be killed.
Right. It's a fine line because, yeah, you don't want to get too serious for the kids in the audience. And I think for me, it didn't cross the line too much. Sometimes it did. But for the most part, I felt like I got enough of the emotion. Like for me, the emotion came from they're outsiders and they want to fit in. And not as much of it came from they're in genuine peril. Except, like I said, for a few moments where I'm not worried for their lives, but I do feel that underdog tension of they are up against someone stronger than them who has basically a mini army. When for them, it's just the four of them.
And that's true. I did like that theme, and I did feel it a lot. Like they really hit home this idea that they thought they were going to have to live their entire lives like underground and with nobody else. Yeah. And like that felt like that hurt. I think another complaint I had about the movie was I just didn't like how they set up the character. Who's the female reporter?
April.
That right from the beginning, I felt like she was exploiting them for the story, which is like she was excited about the story because it serves her goals also of like, she thinks if she gets a big story, it's going to make her accepted by everybody. Well, you know what? To be fair, that was sort of the point, right? Was she learned that wasn't a good motivation. In the same way the turtles learned acceptance wasn't a good motivation either, right? They wanted to be heroes for the sake of being heroes. So actually, maybe that's all thematically consistent.
Yeah, so I do think, and I guess we'll get into spoilers now. So spoilers for Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Though Daniel would tell you it's a kids movie, who cares? How do you spoil it? But that journey you just described for April is paralleled with the Turtles. They're also thinking if we can stop Superfly and we can become heroes, then people will accept us. We no longer have to be outsiders. And they come to the same realization. That is not the right motivation. We should be heroes and do the right thing for the sake of being heroes and doing the right thing. But the movie ends with everything working out to a T. They are widely accepted as heroes. They get to go to high school.
Yeah.
Everyone sees April as a good journalist and she's cool again. Things worked out almost too well. It made me think of, and again, I think some of that stuff is symptomatic of the fact that it's a kids movie, that you can't ask too much of it. You can't tell it to have a really dark, not that I want a dark ending, but a nuanced ending where, and I assume that in a sequel we'll see, well, not everyone accepts things. And things don't go as smoothly as they appear to have been at the end of this first movie.
Well, I was going to say that brings up. You can finish your thought if you had something else.
No, I was thinking about Puss in Boots. I did a video about that, the Last Wish, and I said it's surprisingly mature for a kids movie. And someone almost accused me of using the term kids movie as a derogatory term, like I'm putting the movie down. And he's like, no, this is a movie for everybody. It's mature. But there are definitely things in that movie that you wouldn't have in a movie that was geared primarily to adults. There's humor where it's just loud slapstick humor that at worst I find unfunny. No, at best I find unfunny. At worst I find it actually grating where I want to fast forward to the next scene. So I think there definitely is a category called children's movies, and they won't do certain things. And it's almost unfair to go into it and ask for it to do more than that. But what were you going to say?
So, well, I don't really like the theme. Okay, I like some parts of the theme of Mutant Mayhem, but I just don't really agree with it. Like, it's totally valid and appropriate that the turtles want to be accepted. Like, what they're supposed to, like, it felt to me like the theme is, no, they should be heroes and they should be willing to stay in the sewers for the rest of their lives and have no friends. That's a horrible message. Is like, no, they absolutely should want, like, that is a good motivation to want to find friends and to have a community that accepts them. Like, that's not a bad motivation.
Well, it's not wrong for them to want that, but translate that to the real world. Like, first off, you shouldn't have to go out and stop a supervillain in order to be accepted. So society shouldn't require that of them, and it is not the right motivation. If you walk around your whole life and you think, what can I do primarily in order to fit in, that's not a great way to live life. Obviously, it should be a variable. There's certain things you don't want to go out and do. I don't know, what's a good example? If you go around and you wear shoes on your hands and gloves on your feet and you roll everywhere instead of walking. First off, it's a very impractical transportation method. But also, people aren't going to accept you as readily because you're doing something weird and frightening.
Well, and here's a more practical, like, kids appropriate example would be like, you're in school, you shouldn't be a bully just so you can fit in with the other bullies, right? Like, you don't want to just do whatever it takes to fit in with people because they might not be good people and you might not do good things. But I guess the goals go hand in hand. Is like, you want to be a hero and you want to be in a community that values heroes, right? Like, you want to do good things for the sake of them being good. And then you want to be accepted by people who also believe those things are good. I don't know. I just feel like it sets up in some way like a false dichotomy there that I don't know necessarily exists.
I think there's it gets murky. I think you have to draw a certain, because you don't want a kid going to bed at night thinking, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to find the biggest bully at school and kick his ass. So that way everyone thinks I'm cool.
I don't know. That sounds
pretty good. Which is basically what the turtles were thinking. So if any kids are watching this, they're going to get the wrong lesson from you.
Well, and maybe there's also a message there of like self-acceptance, although I feel like they don't really explore that in the movie. But that's a more mature concept. Right? Like I'm saying that it's like the turtles want to be accepted by other people, but do they accept themselves? And I guess they probably do because it's a kids movie. It's not like as deep as like they have trouble. Yeah.
That's definitely something. I think that's what Frozen was all about. There are plenty of movies geared toward children
course,
that are
yeah.
about accepting yourself. I feel like now I'm in the position of defending kids' movies when I was the one being accused of putting them down. Let me say a few more things about the movie that I really liked. Love the animation style. You mentioned it. Definitely something that was probably enabled by Spider-Verse. They're similar in many ways, also different. This one to me felt like it had more of a crayon aesthetic almost. And it also did that thing Spider-Verse did where it looks 2D-ish, but sometimes it looks very three-dimensional and it starts to blur the lines between being cartoon and being real, which I thought was really cool. I love the performances, specifically Jackie Chan as Splinter, hilarious, and Ice Cube as Superfly. I thought he did such a good job where Superfly could be scary, he could be terrifying, but at the same time, there's a certain charm and bravado where you want him to like you. Like you would feel good if he respected you. And then you're hanging out with him and he's like, all right, now let's kill all the humans. And you're like, yeah, I don't know what to do.
They actually did, like, they did such a good job. Like, I totally got the position of the turtles there, like, wanting to go along with him. Like, yeah, he is just so cool.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought he was great. I thought Jackie Chan was great. A couple things from I grew up with Ninja Turtles, I wish they did things differently standpoint. One thing I missed is the sort of respect for ninjutsu or whatever form of martial arts they have. In the original, it's the story's changed over time. The version of the story I grew up with, that was in the 90s live action movie, is that Splinter was a rat whose owner was a ninja master, and he basically watched him and he learned from him. So he grew up with such a respect for it. And I feel like there wasn't as much of that here. Like, you know, the lifestyle of you have to train every day. You have to never use it for evil, only use it for good. All the stuff you get in a typical ninja movie, that type of stuff, I kind of miss that. Here it was a means of combat.
Yeah, I mean, Splinter learns the ninja whatever stuff from those like 80s infomercial like movies.
I was waiting to see if one of the movies, if they'd be watching a Jackie Chan movie at one point. If they did that, I missed it. But this movie is so referential. Like the whole Attack on Titan thing, I love that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Attack the Nape.
It's pivotal.
I was thinking they were gonna do it, and then I was like, oh my god, they're actually saying Attack the Nape.
Right.
That was so funny.
Attack on Titan is pivotal to the climax of the movie, which I loved. It's so referential. I thought for sure at some point he would be learning to fight by watching a Jackie Chan movie. And again, maybe it happened and I missed it. So it's not a complaint, but it's just something I miss from the version of Ninja Turtles that I grew up with.
I guess the old movies felt like ninja movies. This didn't really feel like a ninja movie.
To some extent, I don't want to go so far as to say that the Ninja Turtles felt like a ninja movie. That was also a goofy movie in a lot of ways. And it's been a long time since I saw it. That's just one aspect of it I remember that I kind of missed. Anything else on this movie, Daniel?
No, I think I like it more now after talking about it. I'll rewatch it at some point.
I feel like Adam was definitely getting annoyed. There were so many kids in the audience, and they were just. It's not like they weren't reacting to certain parts. They were just talking the entire movie.
Babbling.
Here's the thing, though. See, I had a feeling that you were getting annoyed by that. I kept glancing over. I think at one point I saw you like this, very frustrated. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
See, for me, to be honest, did not bother me even for a second.
Well, there were some times where I couldn't hear what was being said.
There were a couple parts like that.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I learned, a lot of these theaters, if you want, they'll give you a little device you put in your cup holder with closed caption on it.
Really?
Yeah. You have to check. Not every Showtime has it, but a lot of movies offer that. So maybe you should get that next time. But I figured we are going to a very popular theater in a very populated location. Opening night, basically. I figured it was going to be full of kids.
Yeah.
So I went in with that expectation, and it didn't bother me. Oh, yeah, it bothered the milking thing I wanted to mention. It didn't bother me too much that they were making jokes while they were getting killed. Again, you don't want it to get too serious, but that joke felt like it was played maybe 3 or 4 too many times. But it was pretty hilarious when Jackie Chan is like, "I told you, you left and you got milked. I can't believe this."
I also the point where Splinter realizes that he's being like Superfly when he looks at Superfly and he sees Superfly say, "You all have to listen to me." It was such a good. I loved that. I thought that was an emotionally impactful climax, and yet also like hysterical.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was a good example where the comedy was on point and it didn't undercut the drama. Like I love. Yeah, just thinking about that makes me love the movie.
There's good character development in the movie. Like even Superfly versus Splinter, they have a sort of Xavier Magneto sort of relationship where they both had similar experiences, where they had very negative experiences with humans growing up. And they take that and internalize it in different ways. Superfly as I'm going to kill everyone, and Splinter as we need to hide and stay away from humans. So it's a little different, where Magneto was we need to become the superior race, kill all the humans, and Xavier was let's find a way to work with them. And so I like the idea of two different people emotionally reacting to an experience in different ways and evolving from it in different ways. And then even the 4 Ninja Turtles, they all felt really unique from one another, while also sharing some of the same trauma and that same desire to be accepted. So, yeah, overall, I feel like we spent a lot of time picking apart the things we didn't like. But for me, it's basically I loved the movie, or I really, really liked it. Here were the only reasons why I wouldn't go so far as to say it's tough because I already said I loved it. So what's even more than that? I can't go as far as to say, it's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Wouldn't say that.
You love it. You don't love it.
It's in my top 500 movies for sure. Better than Puss in Boots, not as good as Godfather Part 2, to narrow it down. Anything else, Daniel?
No, I like the movie more now after our discussion about it.
Yeah, I told you, I'm very credible.
You always convince me to like something more or to dislike. No, you never convince me to dislike things. You only convince me to like stuff usually.
Yeah, I do get accused of being way too positive. Though when I try to, no matter what you do, you're accused of being too much of that thing. I remember when I was reviewing Westworld, and shockingly, I thought that over time, after season 1, the show wasn't as good anymore. So if I said anything bad about it, it'd be all these comments of, "Oh, just like everybody else, nonstop negativity." Then next week, I thought this was a pretty good episode. "Oh, turning a blind eye to all the flaws, you're fanboy." I don't know what do you people want me to say? I just want to be accepted. I need to be a hero. I need to find a villain I can stop.
This is like how I complained. I don't remember if I talked about this on the stream before. I complained about this a lot. In high school, I got made fun of for my legs being too hairy and not hairy enough. There's no winning.
Was one of your legs really hairy and the other was totally smooth? So it depended. All the people telling you it was too hairy, were they on your right side and everyone else was on the left side of your body? That might explain things.
It reminds me of the time I got hit in the head. Remember? And I was seeing flashes in my eye, so I had an issue in my eye. But it took me a week to realize there was a problem with my eye. All I kept thinking was there were things to my left. Like I just kept thinking, for some reason, something keeps moving in the peripheral vision to my left. What? No,
I'm just kidding. There's nothing wrong with that anecdote. I've just been looking for an excuse to use that button this whole show.
Should I try saying the anecdote again? Like imagine,
no,
if you will,
please don't.
Multiple times a day, I just keep going like this. What was that? What was that? And it took me like a week to realize that there was an issue. Anyway.
It was really annoying to hang out with Daniel during that time. He kept saying, "What was that? What was that? Stop taking pictures of me." There's nobody there, Daniel.
Anyway, if anyone cares, I'm fine now.
How did you get that head injury? That severe head injury that, based on all your opinions, you clearly haven't recovered from.
In Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, somebody kicked me in the head. And you're really not supposed to kick people in the head.
It was an accident, right?
Yeah, but he never admitted that he did it and did not apologize.
So you love jiu-jitsu.
I do.
How many days in a row now has it been that you've done it?
Well, I had a day off on Saturday because I had to go to a party.
So up until then, what was your streak?
Oh, up until then, it was like 11 days in a row. And now I'm on like, I don't know however many days it's been since Saturday. And now I go twice a day on some days.
And you've been doing it for years.
No.
Oh,
I started years ago, but I had many years of a break in between. But now I'm totally hooked and I'm never quitting again.
so Alon went with you the other day, and I'm planning to go next week.
Yeah.
I want to hear, though, give me the pitch. Why should I go do jujitsu? Why should I be excited to try
Oh,
it?
God. This is like the Succession moment where he tells Tom to pitch himself.
Oh, yeah. You're like, Gil, I will be your pain sponge. I will do anything for you.
No, actually, if you come to jiu-jitsu, you'll be my pain sponge. That's why you should come. It'll be so much fun. No, you're gonna love.
I love this thing. This is great.
You're gonna love jujitsu. It's the best form of exercise. It's the only exercise I
It's
do
the
now.
most fun you can have with your clothes on.
Um,
Do you wear clothes for it?
you wear a gi.
Okay.
Uh,
You wear a leaf.
just a leaf
Just a-
over.
Oh, so what's so
No,
good
you're
about it?
you're gonna love it. It's so much fun. It's strategic. It's like chess, but with your body. It's super intense. It's kind of primal in a way because you're trying to choke somebody and they're trying to choke you. You're trying to kill each other. That's fun. It's really strategic. Like you really learn. You learn really interesting principles of like how to fight, and you find that people with more training than you will just destroy you. And there's really quick feedback because you can just learn, okay, how do I counter that thing they were doing? And then it works. So there's really quick feedback that's super addictive because you'll find yourself just getting better and better. And when you find that like you can just dominate people who don't know how to fight, I mean, that's amazing. Like you really feel such a mastery of the sport. And the other thing too is, unlike boxing, you can spar at 100% effort with somebody. It's called rolling, and you won't get hurt. Like you can full force fight somebody because there's no striking. Like you can do it safely. And for me, the most fun thing is when you're rolling with somebody who's at an equal skill level as you or like slightly better. And you guys actually have this incredible back and forth of like attack, counter attack, counter attack. It's amazing. It's so much fun.
That's what the attitude I've had for why I'm interested to try it is partially because one of my biggest regrets in life is that right now, if I were to fight someone and one of us were to get hurt, we would be in trouble with the law. But when you're a kid and you're in school, there is a certain amount of fighting you can do without permanently ruining your life. And I look back to my younger days, middle school, high school, and I wish I fought people. I never fought anybody.
Yeah, I didn't take advantage of it. There were times where I got bullied.
Hold on, I want to make it clear. I feel like neither of us are. Can you smile a little bit? Make it clear that we're kind of joking around.
Yeah, we're glad we didn't fight people. But anyway, here's a story of a time I wish I did fight. Is like there were times where I got bullied, and it's like I probably could have taken them. Like some of the people who bullied me were not like much bigger than me. Like I was short, but they weren't like that much bigger.
But you look back and you're like, why didn't I just go crazy and just
Like Ender's Game
If somebody
them?
goes crazy, you bite their ear off or something.
No, I'm glad I never did that.
Oh, we have very different fantasies about this. But with jujitsu, you can fight.
Yeah.
And like you said, because there's no striking, you can actually I've wanted to go to a boxing class after watching Rocky, for example. But punching a bunch of bags, I think, and learning technique is only so fun if you can't actually use the technique.
Yeah.
And it's not just that you want to fight somebody. It's also just it's fun to learn a skill and be versus somebody else with that skill. With boxing, of course, you can do it, but yeah, I'm afraid to have my head punched a bunch of times, and I don't want to get brain damage or a concussion or anything. So it's very appealing to me that we can go to jiu-jitsu. You and I can roll. We can fight without getting hurt, unless somebody kicks you in the head, I guess. But you've been doing it a long time. That's only happened once. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's little bruises. I saw Lund really chafed his fingers because when you grab someone's gi,
Yeah.
I guess
Just the fabric rubbing up against his fingers. Yeah, if that's the worst injury from his first time, it's not bad. And that's like the main thing that'll happen to people. And yeah, from day one of jiu-jitsu, you can roll with people. Like you can spar from day one. So it's awesome.
Cool. All right, I'm excited to try it. Have the skills of jiu-jitsu translated into your real life?
No, unfortunately not.
Other than watching John Wick and being like, that's from jiu-jitsu. Hey, that's from jiu-jitsu.
And annoying people by talking about jiu-jitsu all the time.
I did notice you got a little smile when I mentioned jiu-jitsu. You're like, I couldn't tell if it was a nervous smile or it was I finally get to talk about jiu-jitsu?
No, I was nervous. I was worried I wouldn't give a good pitch about jujitsu. I also haven't been able to see out of my left eye since, Alon says.
That's you did a great job talking about jiu-jitsu.
I didn't know you had positive things on there.
Yeah, no, it's mostly booze and jeers. All right. Anything else going on, Daniel, you want to bring up?
Anime?
Oh, anime. I told you to go watch this anime that's on Netflix right now called Zom 100. You watched the first episode? What did you think of it?
It was awesome. I loved it. I'm so hooked. It was amazing.
I loved it too. That's why I told you to watch it. It spoke to me
Yeah.
more than anything else I've ever watched because there's a certain experience that a lot of people have. Going to a certain job or even just going to school, and you feel like life just drains out of you while you're there, and you don't see anything positive in your future. And usually in pop culture, it's been addressed a lot in pop culture, but usually for humor, like Office or Office Space. But there is something really sad about going to a job you don't like and basically just watching life just drain away. Sunday night, you're like, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, so I don't want to go to sleep because if I go to sleep, I'll wake up and have to go to work. Like that can be, and I'm not going to say it's not like every job I've had has been like that, but there have been, I think most people can relate. There have been times, and it's a very dark time, and I feel like it's usually used for humor. I've rarely seen that darkness fully addressed in a way as much as in Zom 100. And there is still humor there. And basically, to give you the bare bones premise of the show, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's a zombie show. But if you've ever been so miserable at a job where you're like, I would be happy if a bus hit me right now, or I would be happy if there was a zombie apocalypse because I wouldn't have to go to work tomorrow, that is the premise of the show, basically. And it did such a good job of capturing that experience that if you have had that experience, this show will reach out and touch you in a way you've never been touched before. So I won't say objectively it's an amazing show or that technically it does everything right, but for that reason alone, I loved that first episode so much. And I still like the show after that first episode, but specifically that 24 minutes of television just hit really close to home.
I mean, they like really well capture that feeling of being in a job that you really, really hate. They even show, I think, like a news segment at one point that's talking about miserable jobs. And it says in the segment, some people, they're so miserable in their workplace that they like forget they can even quit. They feel trapped. And I've heard there were lines in that show that it's like, I've heard those in real life where he says, oh no, if I quit, my team will just have to pick up the slack for me. I also love the boss is such a good stereotype where he's screaming at them in one scene saying, why do you have to bring this decision to me? Why can't you make this decision on your own? And then the next scene, he's yelling, how could you go over my head on this? How could you make that decision on your own? Like it was so good.
Yeah, the no winning, or day one, you get treated to a nice dinner, and you're like, this place is great.
Yeah.
That little optimism you have, and you're like, why does everyone look miserable? This job isn't that bad. And then you slowly learn as the life drains out of you. It's like these live streams. All day, I'm like, I don't want to do the live stream.
Then I bang on the door and say, come on, let's do it.
Man, I forget that I could just not do it.
Oh man, it was so funny. After like a few nights of all-nighters, he says to himself, oh no, this must be one of those exploitative corporations.
Which I think is a thing in Japan. Like they're
Yeah.
known for having certain corporations that will just drive you to the edge of insanity. So that might actually be a term they use there. Well, I know I'm fairly certain that it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way he phrases that, he's like, wait a minute, this might be one of those exploitative companies. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
Okay.
They did such a good job of just showing how tired he was too. Like they showed the experience perfectly. Like I just couldn't believe how well it reflected, the experience of just working a miserable job.
Yeah, and it does have, I know you're very interested in themes and messages of these
Yeah.
shows. It has a very positive message. Basically, this could be your last day on the planet. So make your bucket list and do everything you want to do. It's a message we've never heard before. Groundbreaking. No, it's an old message, but like I said, it's always, I've said this before, if there's a positive message, it's good to take it,
Yeah.
repackage it into something you haven't seen before so we can once again digest it and further internalize it, feel it. And Zom 100 will do that. There is also, if you go on Netflix, just to clarify, there's a live action movie as well that they just released. We're talking about the anime. So I want to watch the anime first, and then I might check out the movie. Though it's almost like the Disney live action remakes, so they pump out so many of them. There's been a trend in Japan where they are just pumping out live action adaptations of anime. And the couple that I've seen, they're really not good. Because I mean, I saw Attack on Titan. I forget which other ones I've seen, and it was like okay. But if you've seen the anime, you just feel like they've stripped it so far down to try and compress it into a 2-hour movie. It loses so much of what you loved about it. But out of curiosity, I'll probably watch it.
Yeah. The other thing, just about the theme is like it's a life affirming theme. Like it's actually a really, like it's a good theme to just rehash. I love it.
Because just to be clear, it doesn't end with, oh, if zombies attacked, I wouldn't have to go to work tomorrow. Because that almost sounds like not a great message.
Yeah.
Let's end the world so we can get a break. They continue that and send some positive messages with it. Anything else on your mind, Daniel?
No, I'm excited to watch more Zom 100.
Yeah, I might do that tonight. Let's see if I have anything else on the list here.
They are not making a Hot Fuzz 2.
What?
That's an article that comes out basically once a week from what I've seen.
It's the same thing with every year. Once a year, there'll be an interview with, I believe his name, is it Bob Gale? Yeah, Bob Gale made Back to the Future with Robert Zemeckis. I believe, I might be mixing some stuff up here. Hold on, let me confirm that. Zemeckis, Back to the Future. Didn't he direct that? Yes. Okay. Bob Gale was also involved in that. And once a year, there'll be an interview. Headline, Bob Gale on the possibility of a new Back to the Future. And then you read and he says, no, never. If it happens, it'll be because I died and my family estate failed me. But we don't want a new Back to the Future. And I think he's right. What you want is to feel what you felt when you watched Back to the Future back in the day. And you're not going to get that by bringing back an old Michael J. Fox or Christopher Lloyd and trying to do one of these Lega sequels. But I just find it so funny that they ask him the same question every year. He always gives the same answer, and they have to make the headline in a way where you don't know the answer. Like Bob Gale comments on the possibility. You read it and you're like, wait a minute. So it's happening?
Why even bother asking him the question? Just repost the same article and just say, last year we asked him about this. And
yeah, exactly. So, okay, I think that's...
And the new, ahead. Who's the Hot Fuzz guy? What's his name?
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, and the director?
Oh, I can't...
Edgar Wright.
Yeah, Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, they're working on a new movie together. But it will not be part of the Cornetto trilogy. That is real news that they confirmed.
Right, but they said they haven't given any more detail other than that, right?
And they said they want to do something totally different from anything they've ever done before.
And did they also say something like they're finding it challenging to think of what they want to do next or something like that?
Maybe, I don't know. There was a lot of news about this. A lot of news about very little.
I wish you... The one news story you brought this week. You brought the fake one.
Yeah.
There's no Hot Fuzz 2. And now, like, wait a minute. They're actually making a new movie. And you're like, I don't know.
To be fair, I brought that news for last week.
Okay.
And we didn't get to it.
It's a little fuzzy. Hot fuzzy.
It's just fuzzy.
All right. So I guess let's start to wrap up then.
All right.
Next week, you have the MCU recap. Summer 2023 edition coming out.
Wait, was I supposed to be working on that?
You told me you got everything done. We need it out before the Marvels. It's very important. No. We'll do this live stream. We should be back to our normal time Friday mornings, about 10 or 10:30 Eastern Standard. Daniel, I want you to be prepared next week.
I will be.
You can't leave me to do all the work. I even have backup stories in case we have to break open the emergency glass. Like questions like, did Marvel ruin comedy?
Ooh. Oh, yeah, you did mention
We'll talk
that.
about that next week. I can
right.
tell you haven't had a chance to think about it. I don't
Yeah,
want you
yeah.
to look foolish, so we'll bring that for next week. So thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button. You could hit the bell icon. Honestly, I don't care if you do or not.
That'd be nice.
I don't care. Just hit it if you feel like it.
All right.
I prefer you don't hit it, actually, because I can tell it would make Daniel happy, so I'd like you to not do that.
But please hit the subscribe button.
I'll report back on my jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
my time on the farm. It'll be great. Well, everyone, thank you for watching, and see you on the next One Take.